of piles. Generally, that day also I was telling you about the piles. That piles are never installed in a individual pattern. They are always installed in groups. That's why we are calling pile that are installed in groups to be group piles, right? And when I'm saying group piles, the layout of group of piles will be either it will be square, rectangular. The arrangement will be like square, circular, rectangular. So arrangement will be like this only. Now piles are always used in group. When single pile is used as a driven pile, there is uncertainty regarding the vertical installation of piles. Hence, in case of driven piles, minimum number of piles used are three. So generally, whenever we are going with this driven piles, there is a lot of uncertainty. Whenever we are installing pile deep into the ground, most of the time it happens. There is an eccentricity, or there is an there you will find that the pile has been installed, but not in truly vertical direction, but at some inclination. So, in case of driven piles, we are generally installing three number of piles. Whereas in case of board piles, verticality can be ensured and single pile can also be used. However, we always provide group of piles. But in case when we are going with this board type of files, board piles are such type of files where we are simply creating a hole into the ground and later filling it with concrete. Means first you will put reinforcement and then you will put you will pour concrete over it. So in case of board piles, since we have already created a hole and we can ensure verticality in this case, so we don't need more number of piles in this case. In case of board piles, and moreover we can alter the dimension of board piles. So that's why we don't need higher number of piles in board piles case. So we always provide. So that's why we single pile can also serve the purpose in case of board piles. Now freestanding pile group. So you can see this is an example of freestanding pile group. Why we are saying freestanding pile group? Because the pile cap is not placed over the ground. It is like a freely hanging piles. So these piles are freely hanging, and these piles are well interconnected through pile cap, and load P has been applied over the top of pile cap. You can see example of pile foundation. Now this pile cap is laid at ground. So this is not a freestanding pile case. It is like a normal pile foundation case where piles are there, and over the pile we have pile cap. Now, in case of an expanding soil at the top layer, freestanding pile group is used. So now you can ask me this question also, sir. Why there arise the need to have this freestanding pile group when we have the normal pile foundation case where the pile cap is resting over the ground and below it we have a piles. Now, most of the time, I hope you all are familiar with the black cotton soil that I have already discussed during our soil mechanics lectures, where I was telling you about when water is, soaked into such kind of soil, this soil will simply swell, and once the water evaporates from the soil, so it shrinks. So for the case of swelling soils, we are generally preferring this freestanding pile groups. Now, to avoid the ground tightening, pile in sand should begin at center and moved outward. So whenever you will install pile in groups, first always do remember that you have to install first pile you have to install at the center. So if your square arrangement is there, so you have to carefully see how many number of piles you will be using in that square pattern, whether three rows or three. If it is like nine piles are used, like three rows and three columns are there, so you have to install at the center. First you have to install pile at the center, then gradually moving outwards. Now in the diagram shown below, you can easily see from this diagram means how the piles are installed in pile group in case of driven piles. So you can easily see from this figure where the first pile has been installed. First, this is like a circular pattern has been seen. So first pile has been installed here, then second, then third, fourth, fifth, then moving outwards 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right. So why we are doing the arrangement like this, so that we can have the gradual ground tightening, right? So that means because if you installed pile across corners, then what will happen at the center? You will find that the soil will get compacted or densified, and in that case you will not be able to install the pile at the center. So to avoid the ground tightening, or we can say to avoid the densified soil, to avoid the densification in soil, we are generally installing pile at the center first. So everything is clear till this point. Group action of piles. Now, moving on to the ultimate load capacity individual pile, means to find out the ultimate capacity of single pile. Now the question arises, how will compute the ultimate load capacity of piles in group? So this part will basically explain everything about the estimation of ultimate load capacity for the group of piles. First, we'll discuss about the group efficiency. So group efficiency is basically defined as the ratio of ultimate load carried by the group of files divided by the individual piles. Means the summation of all the individual piles that are there in the group. Now, N refers to the number of piles that are installed in groups, that are installed in group of file. QUG refers to the ultimate load capacity of pile group. So this is the pile group ultimate load capacity. QU stand for the ultimate load capacity of the individual pile or a single pile. Now you can see from this particular figure that piles are installed in ground, right? First you can see the case of single pile, then you have the pile groups, and you can easily see the stress formation below the pile head, that for the single pile you can see the stress is more at the center and not higher at the edges. For the pile group you can see it is more or less uniform stress distribution at the edges of the pile, not at the edges but at the lower end of the pile section. Now this is the stress bearing, this is the stress bulbs for the point bearing pile. So for the point bearing piles, for the single pile you can see stress bulb formation can be like this, and for the pile group it is overlapped with each other. Now the another case is friction pile. So the friction pile is like disturbance of soil during installation of pile, and overlap of stress zone of various piles may cause group efficiency to be less than 1, right? So in case of friction pile, what happens? This is like the disturbance of soil during installation of pile. That is what I was you that day also, that we have like group efficiency. Whenever we are installing piles are too close to each other, in that case we will be having a lesser group efficiency. So do note all these points, that we have to install the piles in group at a certain minimum spacing so that they may not overlap and we get the maximum efficiency from the group. Now, if spacing between the piles in a pile group is increased, efficiency may approach unity. So if you increase the spacing of piles in a group, then your efficiency may reach unity. Now, minimum spacing between piles. So, class, please note this as an important also. It is written important also in this case, because in GATE they can ask you this question. Like for the point bearing piles, means if your load is transferring through the end bearing, so in that case, what will be the minimum spacing of piles in a group so that we can have the maximum efficiency? So first is like 2.5 times the diameter for the point bearing piles. For friction pile, it is 3 times the diameter of pile. For loose sand and fill deposit, we have the 2 times the diameter of piles, right? So please note all these three criterias for the like minimum spacing of piles as per Indian standard. Now if we have the non-circular piles, then the diameter of circumscribed circle will be taken as the diameter. So most of the time you will find that you have the non-circular piles, right? So if you have non-circular pile, then in that case, the way they have shown in shown in figure, like a circumscribed circle, you have to consider, and the diameter of that circumscribed circle will be taken into account while computing the diameter of the pile, individual pile. Now, ultimate bearing capacity of pile group when we have the soil as clay. So, group of pile may fail as. So, your group of pile means the piles that are installed in group, they can fail either by the block failure, means the entire block will fail, or there is a failure in the individual pile. Now you can see this is a like a group arrangement of files that are installed in a square pattern. This is the 4 by 4 size, right? So four piles are installed along the width and four piles are installed along the column side now or the depth side. Now, now in order to find out the spacing between these piles, what will be the criteria? Like spacing is center to center spacing is there, and half times the diameter. You can see on the edges it is half times diameter. Now now in case of clay, block failure generally occurs when your spacing is less than 2 to 3 times the diameter, right? So class, please note this point also. If you have a clay soil and they are asking you this question that the block failure has been occurred, so what will be the spacing? So spacing will be less than 2 to 3 times the diameter. Now, in case of clay, individual failure generally occurs. So generally in case of clay, we have the individual pile failure occurs. Now, when spacing is greater than 8 times d, so these are two criteria for the block failure. We have the spacing less than 2 to 3 times diameter, and for the individual failure, we have the spacing greater than 8 times diameter. Now, in block failure, soil is bound by the perimeter of pile group and embedded length of pile is taken as 1 unit or block. So whenever we are solving for the block failure, what we'll be doing, we'll consider the entire perimeter as the 1 unit, and the length of that the embedded block will be considered while we are considering the perimeter, or we are considering it as a unit block. Now the ultimate load capacity of file group for the block failure is given by, so the ultimate load will be given by CNC plus alpha Cu. That is what we have seen in like individual pile while we are computing the ultimate load capacity. Now in case of block failure, we are treating the entire block as a single unit and we are computing everything like this. So CUB stands for undrained cohesion at the base of the pile group. NC refers for the bearing capacity factor that I have already explained, that we have to take N9 value. Alpha refers to your adhesion since we have different materials. CU stand for the average undrained cohesion or average undrained strength of clay over the length of block, right? So alpha Cu then multiply by the perimeter of block into length of pile. So class, please remember this formula whenever they will ask you that the block failure, by the block failure you have to find out the ultimate load capacity, then you have to use this formula, that is CUBNC plus alpha Cu, and CUBNC multiply by the area of base of the block plus alpha Cu perimeter of block into length of pile. Now value of alpha is equal to 1 in case of pile group block, because there is interaction between the soil particles in the pile block with the soil particles adjacent to the block, right? So why we are considering this alpha value is equal to 1? Because we are considering the pile group as a like a soil material, or we can also consider it as a like since the perimeter of pile is interacting with the soil, and perimeter pile we have the soil, so soil interaction, so we can consider this alpha is equal to 1. Value of alpha is equal to less than 1, alpha less than 1 in case of single pile. So if a single pile is considered, then in that case you have to use alpha value less than 1. So QUG for the individual pile failure can be given like, so QUG for the individual pile will be the summation of the ultimate load of piles, individual pile, right? So QUG is equal to n times QU, right? Individual piles you will compute and multiply by the number of piles that are installed in group. Now if somebody asks you what will be the safe load capacity of pile group, then it will be the minimum of these two case, like the block failure case and individual failure case. So whatever minimum value you will get, that will be the ultimate load on the pile group, divide by the factor of safety, that will give you the safe load. So class, this part is clear to all, that pile group installed in clay, In clay, we have generally block failure or individual failure. And the minimum of these two we have to consider for the ultimate load, computing the safe load divided by the factor of safety. Everything is clear till this point? Hello, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so another case is like pile group in sands. Now it has been observed that group efficiency of a driven pile in loose or medium dense sand is greater than 1, right? So for the driven pile, in case of loose to medium dense sand, we have already observed that the group efficiency is greater than 1. This is because soil around and between the piles get compacted due to vibration caused during the driving operation. So it is quite obvious whenever you have the driven pile that are installed in sands. So in case of sand, like loose to medium dense sand, we have already seen when we are installing driven pile into the ground, the pile will compact the soil around. That is nearby soil will get densified. That is why we get the efficiency greater than 1. Whereas in dense sand, above phenomenon is not true. So whenever there is the case of dense sand, always do compare it with the stiff clay case, right? So for the dense sand, since it is already compacted, and in that case, we will not be having this much compaction whatever we are seeing in loose to medium dense sand, because voids are higher in loose to medium dense sand, and when you are compacting the soil, voids will get easily get out, and then we will be having the densified pattern. That and the above phenomenon is not true or not applicable for the dense sand. For the design purpose, we never take group efficiency greater than 1. Hence, an efficiency factor of 1 is commonly used in design, right? So, for the design purpose, please do note that you have to consider this is equal to 1. Efficiency factor is equal to 1. Now, this is the example problem 5. And this example problem 5, I request you all to do on your own. And if you have any problem in this example 5, 6, and 7, then 8, 9, I think so many numericals are there in this case, 10, 11, 12, 13, right? So 13 numericals are there. Are you all, no, not 13, 12 numericals are there. So 12 numericals are there based on the group action of files. Are you all comfortable in doing all these on your own at first?
सर ट्राई कर लेंगे सर कितना हो रहा है.
So kindly try all these numericals on your own. And in case if you have any doubt, then please let me know. Yesterday, somebody asked me some question regarding friction, means how the friction is coming. I don't know the name of the student because I haven't saved his name in my WhatsApp. I don't know the correct name, but the query was very simple, and please ask all the queries, whatever it is, whether it is easy or difficult, right? So don't consider it like that the time is not okay to ask problem. You can even call me at any time, morning, evening, night, and I can easily tell everything whatever we have discussed in during class time. Now this is another topic, not another topic, basically from the pile group only. So how we'll compute the efficiency of pile group? So according to the converse Labar, class, please consider this topic as a very important topic because because maximum time questions are asked in gate from this converse Labar equation. So this is Labar expression for finding out the efficiency of pile group. That is the ratio of actual group capacity to the sum of individual pile capacity. So that is what we have learned so far. That is the group efficiency is defined as the ratio of ultimate load capacity of group of piles divided by the individual piles. That is the summation of ultimate load of the individual pile that are there in group. Now the group efficiency is expressed as group efficiency is equal to 1 minus theta n minus 1 m plus m minus 1 n upon 90 m into n. M refers for the number of rows, n refers for the pile in a rows, right? So M refers for the number of rows. Please note this that the number of rows you will count Then n refers to the number of piles that are there in a row. Theta refers to the tan inverse d by s. D stand for the diameter of pile, s stand for the spacing of pile. So based on that, you have this simple numerical also in this, where they have used the converse Labar formula. M, they have considered like four rows are there. We can easily see these four rows are there and five columns are there. So they have put it four and five. And theta also, theta, we have already seen how we'll compute this theta. Theta is equal to tan inverse d by s. That is, d refers for the diameter, s refers for the spacing. So diameter and spacing is given in your question, that the diameter of 400 is provided to you, and 10 meter long is arranged. Four rows are there. Spacing of 1 meter it is given. So 1 meter is equal to 1000 That is what they have placed over here, theta. So theta is equal to 21.8 degree. Now group efficiency, everything whatever you have obtained so far, put in the expression, and you will get this group efficiency as 62.4%. Now the capacity of pile group, you can easily compute the pipe capacity of pile group. That is, multiply the efficiency with the individual ultimate load capacity in a group, multiply by n. That will give you the capacity of the pile group. Very simple numerical, and concept is only based on the formula and the application only. Now another topic is the settlement of pile groups. Now we have read everything about, means how will compute the ultimate load capacity of individual pile, and how will compute the ultimate load capacity of piles in group. Now this is the another topic, that is the settlement of pile group. That is the same topic, in that we have the settlement of concept. Now, settlement of pile group is generally greater than the settlement of individual pile to same loading. So if you are placing the same loading over the group and for the individual pile, so it has seen in numerous cases settlement is greater than the settlement of individual pile for the same amount of loading. That is same loading per pile. Now, this is because the zone of influence of pile group is generally more than the individual pile. So we have seen in case of group of files, we have seen the stress bulk. We have seen the zone of influence also. So zone of influence is higher for the group of file. That is why we have the settlement of pile group more compared to the individual pile. Now, settlement of pile groups in clay. The widely used approach used for calculating settlement of pile group in a clay is equivalent to raft method. So in raft method, so I hope you all are familiar with the consolidation chapter, where we are, where we are discussing about the settlement of pile rafts. Pile raft, we have seen that settlement is up to from the two-third of the length of pile. So I'll dictate everything, means I'll discuss everything, means when it will be when the load dispersion will be from the two-third of the length of the pile, when it will be from the one-third of the pile. हाँ मौसा जी, क्लास प्लीज होल्ड ऑन फॉर अ फ्यू सेकंड। लाइट गई थी उस वक्त, तुम घर गए थे वहाँ उधर? लाइट गई थी तो वहां गए थे कि शाम को, रात में गए थे हम वहां पर। अच्छा, रात में गए थे। तो आज रोड तो खुल गया है। रोड खुल गया तो आज थोड़ा अच्छे ढंग से खुल जाएगा, कल तक जाना होगा। हाँ कल जाएंगे ऊपर। आज वो सर्टिफिकेट ले आना। हाँ सर्टिफिकेट ले आऊंगा ना, फिर ये भी तो है कल बारिश वारिश ना आ जाए ना, तो सर्टिफिकेट लेके आ तो टाइम से निकल जाऊंगा। आज थोड़ा और ढंग से कुछ पत्थर रत्थर गिरेंगे तो साफ हो जाएंगे ना। वो गाड़ियां तो आ ही रही होंगी, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। Okay, so class, this is like the settlement of pile group in clay. So I was discussing about the consolidation chapter. In consolidation chapter, we have seen that the piles are basically settled, means the raft foundation. In raft foundation, we have the set of piles that are installed in group action, and these piles are basically placed over the pile cap, not over the pile cap, below the pile cap we have the piles installed, and the settlement of raft is generally taken into from the two-third length of the pile. There is the settlement in the pile. Now, in this method for friction pile or displacement pile, the pile group is assumed to act as a single raft at a depth of two-thirds of the pile length in a homogeneous stratum of clay. That is what I was telling you now, that for the friction pile or the displacement pile, you have to consider the two-third length of the pile from the top, right? And from means after two-third, you will find that the dispersion, load dispersion will be there. That is two times two vertical to one horizontal, and you have to find out the settlement of pile group in that case. Now the load QG is assumed. I'll show you in the figure, means how basically explained. Now you can easily see this. These are okay. First we'll cover this theory part, then I'll explain in detail. Now the load QG is assumed to be transferred from this level to the clay layer below at a distribution of two vertical to one horizontal in order to work out increase in effective stress at the mid of the clay layer. So the load QG, that is the gross load over the pile cap, it is assumed to be dispersed at rate of two vertical to one horizontal in order to find out the increase in the effective stress at the mid of. So what we are basically doing in consolidation also, in order to find out the settlement, we have the, that is settlement is equal to H multiplied by Cc upon 1 plus E naught log delta sigma plus sigma naught upon sigma bar, right? So we have the formula like this. So what we have seen in this formula, that there is an increase in the effective stress that is coming in the upper term, that is log sigma naught plus delta sigma upon sigma naught. So delta sigma refers to the increase in effective stress. So whatever we are doing, basically we are doing just for the sake of finding out the increase in effective stress. Now in case of board or end bearing piles on firm stratum, the equivalent draft is assumed at the base of pile. A load spread of two vertical is to one horizontal is assumed from this depth, right? So what we have to do, basically we have to find out the equivalent, we have to find out the board or end bearing in case of board or end bearing piles on firm stratum. Okay, so what we have to do, we have to use this equivalent raft approach, where we are generally considering a load spread of two vertical to one horizontal. Now, in case of piles driven into firm or strong stratum of clay underlying a soft stratum of clay, a fictitious raft is assumed to act at a depth of two-thirds of the embedded length of pile in a strong stratum from the top surface of a strong layer and spreading out at a 2:1 slope. So everything is similar only, right? So what we have to do, basically we have to consider in case of displacement or friction piles, we have to consider the load spread from two-thirds of the length of pile. Now you can see this is an example of a pile group. This is not a case of freestanding pile. This is only the pile foundation where pile cap is there, and below pile cap we have the piles installed, and the depth up to which the piles are embedded, that is considered as the L length. Two-thirds of the L we are considering here, and then from two-thirds, basically the load spread is there. This is the load spread from two-thirds of the length, and from two-thirds the increase in the effective stress calculation how they have done. So they have considered at the mid of the clay layer, you can easily see that it is written center of the clay layer, it is shown, that is the up to h by 2 thickness from the base of the two-third length where we are considering, and then area also it has been shown, and overall the dimensions of lens shown in this figure, right? Now how will compute the area of this particular figure? So this is h by 2, that is at the mid of class, it is easily visible, I hope, that the center of clay layer is there, and h by 2 thickness from the base of two-third L that we are considering. And since we are saying two vertical to one horizontal, so this is h by 2. So one times will be this will be h by 4. So h by 4 here and h by 4 here, so it will be h by 2. So overall width of this base will be b plus h by 2. And similarly we have the similar arrangement in the another direction, that is on the y direction, if we are considering it as an x direction. So b plus h by 2 into l plus h by 2. Class, this concept is clear to all or not? Then I'll explain in again. Is it clear?
सर एक बार फिर से समझा दो।
Okay, no problem. So class, please note this point. So in the right figure, okay, let me move on to this right figure. In the right figure, you can easily see this is the base, means this is the, what to say, this is like the width. Width is shown, and considerable length is also shown in the y direction. So if I treat x direction as the width direction, y direction as the length direction, so you can see this B into L. This is the area at the base of the 2/3 L that we are considering, right? But at the base of 2 by 3 L plus H by 2, this one, right? See, I don't have this pen over here now, so I cannot explain you in that way. So 2, you can easily see on the rightward direction, this is 2L by 3 plus H by 2, right? So at the base of 2L by 3 plus H by 2, you have the shape that is more, that the width of the section is more compared to the base of the 2 by 3rd L. So it is shown here. That is the H by 2 separation is there between these two widths. So now the slope you can easily see. Slope is shown that two vertical to one horizontal is there, right? Now I am saying two vertical to one horizontal is there. That means when you are moving two times in downward direction, that means you are moving one times in horizontal direction. So this B will be similar to B, whatever we will be having in the upper face, and plus this will be h by 2. So in horizontal direction, it will be h by 4 in this direction, and h by 4 also in that direction, right? So, so the total of B plus h by 4 plus h by 4. So this is B plus h by 2, right? So B plus h by 2 will be this dimension, and similarly we'll be having L plus h by 2 there in the y direction. Now is it clear?
यस सर।
Okay. So B plus h by 2 into L plus h by 2, that will give you the area at that particular point, that is 2L by 3 plus h by 2. Now you have the area. Okay. Now, what you will do at the level of the center of clay, if you want to find out the overburden stress at the center of clay, what you will do, you will simply multiply the gamma with the height of the stratum. That is 2L by 3 plus H by 2 multiply by the unit weight. That is the bulk unit weight, that will give you the overburden stress at the center of clay layer. That is what it is shown here. Now, in order to find out the increase in the effective stress at that particular level, what you will do, that you will simply you will simply do the division concept, that is load divided by the area. So load will be P that is applied at the top of the pile cap, P divided by area, that is B plus H by 2 into L plus H by 2. So that will give you the increase in effective stress at the mid of clay layer. Now we know the settlement formula, that is HCC upon 1 plus E naught log sigma naught bar plus delta sigma upon sigma naught bar, right? Now we know this formula, so we can easily use everything in this. Like sigma naught, you can easily place this 2 by 3L plus H by 2 into gamma t. Delta sigma also is available for you, and sigma naught also is there. So simply do this. And you will get everything, like you can easily have this settlement. Now another case is when you have the piles that are driven into the strong stratum through an overlying weak stratum. So most of the time it happens that the upper stratum is not strong, upper stratum is weak stratum, and lower stratum is strong stratum. So in that case, means how you will compute the settlement, this is another query. So you can see they have considered the weak soil, that is at the L1 part, and strong soil, that is there for the L2 part. So what they have done, for the strong soil they have considered 2/3 of L2. Now in this case they have not considered 2 by 3 times of L1 plus L2, right? So class, please note, for the strong soil you have to consider 2 by 3rd of the length that is embedded into the strong soil. Now from 2 by 3rd L2, basically the load spread you have to do, that is 2 is to 1, and at the mid of this spread you will be having the clay layer, and then you will do the entire thing whatever I have explained so far. Now another case is of the board piles or end bearing pile resting on the firm stratum. Now this is the case of board pile, or we can call it as an end bearing pile. right? They are resting on a firm stratum. That means whenever I'm saying a firm stratum, that is a suitable strong stratum is there. Now, since these are end-bearing piles, and this is the case of board piles, and these piles are not like a friction pile or a displacement pile, not sorry, friction pile or like a friction pile. So, uh, see, in case of friction pile only, we have the load spread from the two-third of the length. But whenever we have the end bearing pile, not friction piles, so in that case, we have to consider the entire length into account. And from the entire length at the base, we'll be having a load spread of 2:1. And similarly, we'll compute the settlement using this formula, that is CCH naught upon 1 plus E naught log sigma naught plus delta sigma upon sigma naught.